So we are going to be learning about merging documents with data. And in order to do a merge, you need to have a data source. And the data source can be an Access table, it can be an Excel spreadsheet, or you can create your own. So you need to have some type of data source. You need to have a main document. And then after you merge the data source and the main document, you end up with a third file, which is your merged file. So there's really three different files that you're working with: the data source, the main document, and your merged document. So we are going to start by creating a blank document and creating our own data source. So from this blank document, we're going to go into mailings, and we are going to select the recipients. And if we had an existing list, we could use it. Unfortunately, we do not have a list. So we are going to have to type our own. So we're going to choose type a new list. Now it does have a bunch of default fields for us to enter data into. And what we're going to do is customize this list. So we're going to choose Customize Columns. And this will show us all of the different fields that it adds by default. And so we can remove fields, but we can also add additional fields that we want to store data in. So what we're going to do is select company name, and we're going to delete that. And yes, we do want to delete it. And we're also going to delete address line 2, country, home phone, work phone, and email. And we're going to add a new field, and the name of it is membership. And we're going to add another one, and this one is discount. And then we're going to click OK. And I'm going to widen this just a little bit so you can see that all of the fields that we had specified are now shown. And at this point, we can go ahead and start keying in our data. This is kind of similar to keying in data in a spreadsheet, where you would start in your very first row, and we'll type in the title. And to get to the second field or the entry area, you can press tab, and we'll key in the name, Christina. Oops. Pressing tab, getting the last name, and then I've got the address. Now you'll also notice that you can widen these, or if they're too wide, you can actually make them smaller so that you can see everything. And the city is Long Beach, California. And the membership is Premier Choice. Yeah, 3% discount. And we can widen up membership so you can see that. And all I'm doing is positioning on the line. And when I see the double-headed arrow, I can left drag. After 3%, you're going to press tab, and that'll take you down to the next record that you can add. And so I'm going to go ahead and add the next one. Whoops. Make sure you press tab between the different fields. I'm pressing tab, and I'm going to pause the video while I add the last two. So at this point, I've gone ahead and I've added all of my data for records. And I'm going to go ahead and click OK. Okay, now once I click OK, it automatically pops up this Save Address list. And by default, it is going to try to store it in my data sources. And that is really not where we want this to go. So we are going to navigate to our Word S4 folder. So wherever you may have that stored is where you're going to navigate to. And then you're going to open up that folder. Okay, so we're double checking, make sure you're saving it into Word S4. And we're going to call this thing /FCT data source. And you will notice that it is saving it as a Microsoft Office address list with an MDB extension. Now what's interesting is this used to be what they used for Access long ago. So it's a Microsoft database is basically what it is. We're going to go ahead and click on Save. And so our data source is done. And now we're going to open up our main letter. So we're going to go to File and Open. And let's click on Browse. We do need to be looking in our Word S4 folder for this. The name of the file is FCT Cruise Letter. So we're going to open that up. And we'll enable the editing. And we're going to save this under a slightly different name. So we'll go to Save As. Make sure it's going to go into Word S4. And we're going to do a / at the beginning. So FCT Cruise Letter is fine. But after letter, we're going to type main doc for main document. Because we did our data source, and now we are doing our main document. Okay, so we've got main doc added to the end, and we're going to click on Save. Now I'm going to bump up my zoom here so this is easier for you guys to read. And what we have to do now is connect this main document to that data source that we created earlier. They have to be connected. So we're going to go into Mailing, and we're going to click on Select Recipients. And then, because we already created our list, we're going to say Use an existing list. And now we have to go and pick the list. And so we're going to go down or up, depending on where your Word S4 folder is. We're going to go to the Word S4 folder, wherever you may have that saved. And you can see that our data source looks a little different than the Word documents. And that is what we need to select. So we are going to open that up. Okay, so it's very important that you connect your main document with the data source. It has to be a connection there. And then we are going to start adding the fields from our data source into this letter. So we are going to move our insertion mark 2 lines below the date here. This is where we're going to insert the inside address. And to insert the inside address, we are just going to click on Address Block. So it's actually looking at our data, okay, or showing us how that's going to look. And that looks pretty good. So we're going to go ahead and click OK. Okay, and you can see that it put in an address block placeholder. And that's exactly what we wanted it to do. Because when we actually merge, we're going to get basically a separate letter for each person, and each person's going to have their own address in it. Okay, so we've got the address block entered, and then we actually need a greeting line. So we'll put that in down here. And so up here, they do have pre-formatted greeting lines for us. And dear is fine. And you'll see that it would cycle through every single recipient. And it's going to put a comma after, which is fine. If for some reason we had a record that did not have a name, this is what it would insert in place of that. And that looks fine too. And let's see, I guess they want a colon here, so we'll go ahead and change that. Okay, so this is what it's going to look like. You can kind of look at our data here. And that looks good, so we're just going to go ahead and click OK. And that gives us a greeting line placeholder. Now, let's see. They want us to do a little editing in here. So at the end of our first paragraph, we're going to key in with your, and then we're going to do a space. And what they would like us to do is put the membership field in here. So we're going to click on Insert Field. We're going to choose Membership, and that's going to put a placeholder right in there. So we've got with your, and it's going to say Premier Choice or Ultimate Premier or whatever they have for their membership. And after the placeholder membership, we're going to put in the word membership and a comma. You will receive an additional comma. And this is where we're going to insert the discount field, followed by the word discount. Because remember, in that field, we entered 3% and 5%. So how this is going to read is, with your Ultimate Premier membership, you will receive an additional 5% discount. That's basically what it's going to say. And we're going to hit save. Now, for some reason, they wanted a bunch of lines between the date and the address. So we'll go ahead and throw in a couple more lines up there. And we'll hit save. And then we can merge this letter with the data source. So over here in the Finish group, we're going to go ahead and click on that. And to get individual documents that we could change if we needed to, we're going to choose Edit Individual Documents. So do you want to merge all the records or the current record only or arrange? We want all of them. So we're going to go ahead and click OK. And then what that is going to do is it's going to take each row of the data source and create a separate letter. So we had 4 rows that had data in them. We have 4 letters. And for this merged document, we're going to save this. And we are going to call it 4-FCT merged cruise letters. Oops, and make sure you save that into your Word S4 folder. I'm pretty sure I did not save it into Word S4, so I'm going to fix that. Always important to save it in the right spot. So, navigating to Word S4. And this is where I'm going to save it. Okay, so once you have saved this into the Word S4, you can close it. Okay, make sure you've saved any changes to your main letter, and you can close that as well. And that brings us back to our blank document. And we've created the letters, and what we're going to do now is create the envelopes for those 4 letters. So we're going to go into mailings. And in our Start Mail Merge group, we're going to actually click on the Start Mail Merge button and choose envelopes. And we're just going to keep the default options. We're just going to click OK. So this actually is giving us an envelope. And then we're going to click on Select Recipients. We're going to use an existing list. We're going to use our data source from before. Going to navigate to the Word S4 folder. And we're going to pick our data source and open that. So we're going to click where the client information, the person we're delivering to, where their address should go. And if you have the show hide on, probably easier to find it. Okay, but this is where we're going to have that display. And let's see, going back into mailings, we are going to click on address block. Okay, and again, it's showing us the address, and that looks fine. So we're going to go ahead and click OK. So after you enter the address block, that is all they are going to have you do on this, and you don't even have to save this as a main document. All we're going to do is click on Finish and Merge. We'll say Edit Individual Documents, and we want all of the records. And so we'll get each of the envelopes on a separate little envelope page, and this is what we're going to save. So this needs to go in your Word S4 folder, and we're going to call it 4-FCT merged ENVS for envelopes. And at this point, you are done with the envelopes, so you can close them. And we can go ahead and close out of this without saving.